Good morning, good people. Today I'm talking about healthy fats, the fats that I use, the ones that I rely on, and why I use them, and also about cooking temperatures, how this is relevant to our health. So I'm going to go through these. The first two I equate as one and the same for the most part. This is grass-fed butter and grass-fed ghee. Now, for those of you who don't know, ghee is simply clarified butter. And what that means is they take a big vat of butter, they heat it very slowly, and as they do that, it cooks off the dairy solids, which is great for the people that are lactose intolerant or can't handle dairy. This makes the health benefits of butter, quote unquote, available to you. So I rely on both of these. I use them interchangeably because I can handle dairy. I do quite well with dairy, and I stress these two for a couple different reasons. So where I like to start when I talk about butter and ghee, the first thing is that it is very good for the heart. Ghee is very rich in something called CLA, which is a fatty acid, and it stands for conjugated linoleic acid. Now, the research shows that these CLAs are protective against carcinogens, artery plaque, and diabetes, which is great. So take note of that. The second thing is that ghee and butter are very rich in K2, and K2 plays a crucial role in facial and dental development in children. So if you are a woman who is wanting to conceive or currently pregnant, this is a great fat to have. The other thing is that ghee and butter, as long as you can handle the dairy in butter, are very good for the digestive tract because they are rich in something called butyric acid. And butyric acid is a short-chain fatty acid that nourishes the cells of the intestines. So why is this good? Why do we want that? Our intestines are the basis for our immune system. 80% of our immune response is built in the small intestine, and 90% of our serotonin production, the feel-good hormone, is produced in the gut. So foods that protect the intestinal lining are good. You want those. Eat those, and eat them in quantity. Now, the thing I want to take a little side jaunt here real quick is about saturated fats. Now, I'm talking about these. These are both saturated fats. And the next fat I'm talking about is a saturated fat as well. Saturated fats were demonized for a very long time, especially in our parents' generation. New research is showing saturated fats are not the demons they were made out to be. And as long as they come from a healthy animal, they are well sourced, they can be quite good for you. The caveat with this, as always, is that everyone's body chemistry is different. Everyone's genetic heritage is different, and we all need to give everyone around us room to eat the diet that is best for their body. And there is no one diet that fits for every single body chemistry. Not everybody should be vegan. Not everybody should be on a ketogenic diet. Not everyone should be macrobiotic, or whatever diet that you adhere to. There is not a one stroke that fits for all because we're too varied as a species. We have too many variables within our genetic heritage to just all rely on one diet. So keep that in mind as I'm talking about this. And as always, I'm not a medical doctor. So if you guys are like, well, should I take this advice? Cross-reference with your primary healthcare practitioners, whoever they are. But I'm also not green in this area. I have a background, I have a master's degree in Chinese medicine, I have a background in nutrition, and I work with clients on the regular to reverse ailments through food. And I've had to be very conscientious of what I eat and the fats that I eat because for those of you who know me, I'm a large-framed guy. I'm prone to joint stuff, and I've fought inflammation for a good portion of my life and had a very good turnaround in recent years with the inclusion of these fats and sticking to these and excluding a lot of other fats. So again, cross-reference with your primary medical people, but you can take or leave what I'm dropping here, but this is what I've seen and what I see with my clients, and I get good result. The next fat is coconut oil. Coconut oil is amazing for a bunch of different reasons. The big one is that it's the only fat that's naturally antibacterial, antimicrobial, antifungal, and antiviral. It's a powerhouse in terms of immune response. So when you are sick, eat more coconut oil. It's fantastic for that. It can also be used topically as a side note. So if you have a scratch that is slightly infected or slightly swollen, you can use coconut oil and it will take it down. I've done this myself. I've done this with my mom, clients, friends. Works very, very well. The other cool thing about coconut oil is that it's thermogenic. So it actually is stimulating to the thyroid. If you have low thyroid function, coconut oil is awesome. Very good for that. And it's the only fat that doesn't require bile from your gallbladder. I'm not sure why this is, but the research shows that typically when we eat a fat, the gallbladder has to excrete bile to break down our fat. This doesn't happen with coconut oil. It just passes right through, which is very cool. So it gives your gallbladder and your liver system a break, which is very good because the liver is also plays a role in how we metabolize fat in our body. The last fat that I stress and that I use, but I wouldn't even say sporadically, but I use it here and there. It's the only plant oil that I use, which is olive oil. Now, olive oil is a plant-based fat, and I'm going to talk about that, why that's problematic sometimes. But there are lots of health benefits for olive oil use in terms of cholesterol, good for our arteries, good for our bloodstream. So I use that, but it's the only liquid fat that I use. If you'll notice, butter, ghee, and coconut oil, these are what they call stable saturated fats, and they're solid at room temperature. So if you need a liquid fat, olive oil is the only one that I use, but I do not heat it. And this is where we're going to get into cooking temperatures. Anytime you heat a fat, any fat for that matter, and it starts to smoke, you are now bridging that fat into the carcinogenic realm, which means carcinogens create free radicals in the bloodstream. This can lead to increased risk of cancer, heart disease, inflammatory processes. So it's not good. You don't want to burn your fats to the point of their smoking. Now, if you've been to China, like myself, or Asia, and traveled in those parts of the world, you'll go to the street food and you'll see the huge woks with the roaring smoke. The food tastes amazing, by the way, which is so unfortunate. But you don't want to rely on that as your primary food source. I live it up. If I'm in Asia, I eat that food and just put a blessing over the food and just it's like I just go with it because it tastes so good and those woks are seasoned so well. But again, you don't want to smoke your oils consistently. Olive oil I never cook with because it burns and smokes so fast. It's very delicate and it should be only used in a cold context. You can put it in pasta sauces in a skillet, and the sauce will kind of insulate it from the metal, from the skillet itself, but you don't want to put olive oil and cook with it. It's not a stable fat for that. And the other piece that I say here is just to be wary of is PUFAs, P-U-F-A, which is short for polyunsaturated fatty acids. These are the acids that come from plant sources, and we would think, because they come from plant sources like safflower, corn, soy oils, all these different kinds of oils, we would think that because they're vegetable or plant-based, they should be good for us, but it's really not the case. They're very rich in omega-6 fats, and this is not a particularly good thing. These are pro-inflammatory fats, and some people can handle them, but a lot of people cannot. So if you are low thyroid function, PUFAs, the polyunsaturated fatty acids, are not your friend. This is why I say, if someone is hypothyroid, veganism is probably not the best move because there are not a lot of rich omega-3 sources. There are some, for sure, but there's a lot of omega-6. There's definitely a lot of omega-6. I don't want to talk bad about veganism at all. There's lots of omega-3 sources, so please, vegans, don't blow this up and say, well, there's tons of omega-3s in chia and all kinds of things. This is true, but there's a lot of omega-6 fats that can show up in a vegan diet, so that can be not so great. Backtracking just a tad, I want to talk about why I say grass-fed butter and grass-fed ghee. Grass-fed butter and grass-fed ghee is not some hippy-dippy preference because I just want to be elitist and organic. There's a very real difference between grass-fed butter or ghee and corn-fed. Grass is the natural diet of a cow. When they eat grass and they're pasture-raised, the fat they produce is outer muscular, which means the fat is on the outside of the muscle, and it's omega-3 fat, which means that it's anti-inflammatory, heart protective, and very good for the brain. It's a wonderful fat to have in your body. When cows are fed corn, this is an unnatural food source for them. And when that happens, the fat they produce is intramuscular, which we call marbling, sadly, because marbled steaks are amazing. They taste amazing. But this is intramuscular fat that shows up in the cow, and it's omega-6 fats, very pro-inflammatory. So it's not good to just rely strictly on corn-fed beef. While it tastes good, not the move that you want to make for long-term sustenance. Have a corn-fed steak here and there if you really love them. I still eat them, I'm not going to lie. I love a corn-fed steak here and there. They're very tasty, but they're not particularly good for your bloodstream, your heart, and they create inflammation. So just be mindful of that. So this is true for the grass-fed butter too. It's going to have the omega-3 function, the corn-fed butter, standard conventional butter that you just get at Safeway or Raley's that doesn't say, if it's grass-fed, it's corn-fed, it's grain-fed, and likely GMO corn-fed, some kind of grain. So that being said, just be mindful of those pieces. And the big takeaway with fats and temperature is just, you want to eat the fats that are primarily stable at room temperature, that have been unadulterated, and I always like to stick to the fats that have been the least processed as possible. And that's why I stick with butter, I stick with ghee, coconut oil, olive oil. These don't need a ton of processing to get them onto your plate or into your hands. So be aware of that. And these are the fats that I rely on. And that quick little word on temperature, don't burn your oils because they make them carcinogenic. So hopefully this finds you well. You guys eat well, enjoy yourselves, and thank you.